Mexico is a developing country, determined to transform itself into a 21st century economy. It needs power, and lots of it. The country has one of the biggest dam building programs in the world. The biggest of all, currently under construction, is El Cajun, the box. This monster will be a towering 620 feet high, making it the highest rock-filled dam in the world. The trouble is, it also has to be one of the fastest dams ever built. And they're running out of time. Started in 2003, El Cajun has to be finished by 2007. 5,000 workers are ripping over 12 million cubic yards of rock from the surrounding mountains to build it. It's a massive challenge for the kings of construction. 70-year-old Salvador del Pozzo Mestachi. It's the biggest job of his career, and the last. He's passing on the tricks of the trade to his son, but they've only got days to deliver. Federico Schroeder, the boss. The buck stops here, and he has to keep the locals happy too, even though they're going to lose their homes. Yasmin Aranda. The top of the dam wall is going up at record speed. She has to make sure there are no foul-ups. She's a woman in a man's world, and she's not taking a step back. Fidencio Mendez, construction manager and taskmaster. He has to make sure that every department is working at full speed. Nothing and no one will stand in his way. For the past 10 years, Fidencio has been roaming the world, building some of the biggest dams around. It took a job as big as El Cajun to lure him back to his native Mexico. They call this the City of the Gods, a great complex of pyramids built over 2,000 years ago and used by the Aztecs for their savage ceremonies of human sacrifice. And at its center, the gigantic Pyramid of the Sun. This vast tomb wasn't built out of neat stone slabs like the pyramids of Egypt, but packed with over 1 million cubic yards of volcanic rock and mud, and then faced with stone. It's the same rock-filling technique that's used in Mexican dams today.
The basic ideas are the same from thousands of years ago. And they were built with people and rock fill. We are building El Cajun Dam with people and rock fill. The only difference is the tools we are using.
When it's finished, El Cajun will be the highest rock-filled dam in the world. All the money raised to build El Cajun, $750 million, has come from abroad. Raising the cash was a real achievement, but there's a hitch. The contractors have to hit a series of tough deadlines, or else face crippling financial penalties. And the toughest deadline of all is coming up fast.
I gotta be ahead of the problems all the time. There are too many things at stake. There's time for the client, and it's money for the contractor, and you gotta balance all those things in order to make a decision.
When it's finished, the wall will be twice as high as this, over 600 feet. Two teams are working on the dam's two faces, but the upstream unit is progressing too slowly, holding back the progress of the downstream squad, who have to wait for their colleagues on the other side to catch up. Fidencio has to turn up the pressure on the workers.
Bueno, aquí lo que hay que tener cuidado es que hay que llevar esto más arriba que lo de allá, porque ahorita llevamos la presa así.
Pues siempre debe ser en la tirada, lo que pasa es de que...
¿Cuántas pasadas le están dando ahorita a esto?
Le están dando 26.
¿26? Sí. Son demasiadas pasadas, 26 nos va a llevar la fregada, Es 5 veces el tiempo que estamos utilizando. Hay que ver con este búho.
With a workforce of 5,000, El Cajun is the largest hydroelectric project in the Western Hemisphere. It's a 24-hour operation driven by the fear of late delivery. This week, they've reached a critical moment. It's time to put the heart into the dam. A dam is two things. Above ground, a wall holding back a vast volume of water. And below, huge tunnels carrying massive rivers of water into the electricity generating turbines. At the base of each turbine is the scroll case, which funnels the water onto the turbine blades. To stay on schedule, Fidencio's team have to start moving the first scroll case by next Saturday. Monday, 5 days to go, Fidencio checks on progress. These gigantic tunnels will carry the water deep into the belly of the dam. At their base is the turbine hall, a huge cavern carved from the earth, over 100 yards long, 50 high, and 25 wide. Moving the 200-ton scroll case across the vast turbine hall is a challenge in itself. But first, Fidencio has to make sure its concrete foundations will be ready.
Ya con eso te vienes así, ¿no? Te vienes así tirando y te das la vuelta ya. This is a normal working day. This is business for us. This is every day, every day, every day.
It's not going to stay normal for long. Fidencio and his team have just 5 days to get ready for the big move, and the operation's soon running into trouble. El Cajun will be one of the largest man-made structures ever built. When it's finished, over 12 million cubic yards of rock will be packed into this massive dam. So far, they've focused on building up the gigantic dam wall, and they're halfway there. Now, Salvador Del Pazo has the task of putting the heart of the dam in place, the two massive turbines. The only trouble is, they're still not ready, and the first one has to be moved in 5 days' time. Underground in over 100-degree heat, workers are assembling the huge turbine. The scroll case has to be delicately maneuvered 90 yards along the massive turbine hall and set in position on its concrete base with pinpoint accuracy. Any mistakes and the concrete base or the turbine could be damaged, throwing the whole operation back weeks or months.
With an operation of this kind, you can't leave anything to chance. The support cables, the shackles, and all the parts are 6 or 7 times stronger than they need to be. We just don't want any surprises.
This is the biggest turbine scroll case ever built in Mexico. As it's so heavy, Salvador's had to build it on site. Moving it into its final position is still a move into the unknown, and doing it on time, a nightmare.
En el segundo turno vas a acabar de troquelar y fijar la estructura, ¿le empiezas a soldar?
Sí, ya empezamos a troquelar y empezamos a hacer la soldadura perimetral de todo esto.
Y para mañana la tienen lista.
Ya tenemos lista esta junta. Sí.
For all the meticulous planning, there's a major glitch. Work down below in the turbine hall suddenly grinds to a halt. The problem is simple, but hard to fix.
We've got the delay here because no new concrete has arrived yet. It often happens that there isn't enough concrete to go around the whole site.
Up above, huge explosions shake the valley. Each blast uses 3 tons of explosives. By the time the dam's finished, they'll have used 11,000 tons of dynamite, roughly the force of half an atomic bomb. Each explosion produces 10,000 cubic yards of rock. The larger rocks are used to pack the dam wall. The smaller ones are sent to the concrete factory, built on site especially for this project. Here the rock is crushed and mixed with water, chemicals, and also ice to prevent the concrete from setting too quickly and cracking in the blistering Mexican heat. 360,000 tons of concrete will be used to build the spillway, the huge overflow channel for the reservoir. The spillway is a vast construction project in itself. Below, concreting continues, but up above on Pier 3, they've finished. Fidencio is frustrated that the team haven't moved on to the next task. The foreman is in the firing line. It's 6 p.m. with only 3 days until the scroll case lift. The first truckload of emergency supplies of concrete arrives. Extra workers have been drafted in a desperate effort to finish the turbine's concrete base in time. Work as usual carries on through the night. Here they're reinforcing the deep shafts that will carry the electric power from the turbines to the surface. Just as the concreting underground gets going again, up top it's running into trouble. Mexico's rainy season is intense and 3 months long. Concrete needs water, but not this much.
Rain is a problem for us because the whole system is stopped. So we don't like the rain at this stage. We want the rain once we finish and start impounding the reservoir. Otherwise, it's nightmare. Look at this. We have to stop and put the canvas there. We have to stop now. We have to run and protect the fresh concrete. We're normally 24 hours a day and night. But if it rains, we have to pray to the Lord not to rain anymore.
The storm has taken its toll. To hit the deadline, the trucks tried to carry on, with disastrous results.
I was driving at a normal speed, and then suddenly I started to skid a lot. But when I came to a bump at the side of the road, I really lost control. The truck spun on dry ground, and then it flipped over.
Gomez isn't fazed. For many of the workers here, El Cajon is not just a job, it's a mission. There's no time to lose. The trucks scurry on like giant metal ants, carrying 20,000 cubic yards of rock to the dam every day. The engineers at El Cajon have been called for a tense satellite link-up with the big bosses in Mexico City, 400 miles away. The question is, will they meet the deadline? Federico Schroeder is the overall boss of the dam project. The buck stops with him. Under pressure, he starts to grill one of the local contractors, who wants a delay while he gets hold of some new equipment. Federico is furious.
Yo creo que ese problema se resolvió. Ahorita que nos pregunten, creo que lo tenemos resuelto, ¿no?
Está haciendo una reprogramación para presentarla esta semana.
Nosotros no pedimos ninguna reprogramación. Disculpen, pues no pedimos ninguna.
Bueno,
no estamos.
Bueno, pero una reprogramación, tú quieres decir simplemente meter unas máquinas de llegada de equipo. Es un programa de llegada de equipo. Entonces está delicado. Yo sé que no es asunto tuyo, pero para nosotros es el tema más delicado de toda la obra. Las inyecciones, de toda la obra. Está peligroso. Está peligroso, mira.
With the clock ticking, Federico has been called away on a diplomatic mission. The dam will flood a nearby village along with its cemetery, and the villagers aren't happy.
We're going down there to see how the new houses are progressing. If you come with me, we'll have a look.
On his way, he'll stop to inspect the new village being built by his construction workers to rehouse the peasants currently living in the valley.
Estas no son las casas más adelantadas. Las más adelantadas están aquí abajo.
Están aquí abajo.
¿Cuánto tiempo tiene que comenzaron estas casas? ¿Un mes?
Estas las empezamos hace 10 días.
Muy bien.
Moving the village cemetery is a delicate political issue. Schroeder has to reassure the villagers that it will all be done with sensitivity.
Es una exhumación que tenemos que hacer cada uno, pero tenemos que hablar con los parientes de cada uno para que nos autoricen y de uno en uno.
Sí, pues yo pienso que vamos a tratar de ver como lo que está en la lista, ¿no?
Lo que está en la lista, lo que está en el censo.
Es que aquí ya varios casos nos pasaron así, ¿verdad? Y pues tenemos que sacarlos afuera.
Ándele.
Y tenemos que dejarlos, o sea, aquí de vuelta, pues aquí para sacarlos. Pues,
no.
¿verdad? Entonces tuvimos que sacarlos afuera.
Sí.
Y...
Back at El Cajun in the turbine hall, the race continues to prepare the big lift of the scroll case on Saturday. With 2 days to go, the concrete base is drying out and the scroll case is almost finished. Salvador Del Pozzo is still anxious that he might not make it on time. These gaping cavities right above the turbine hall will channel the reservoir's water down to the great turbine engines below. And there's yet another tough deadline to meet. Next week, a gigantic 40-ton metal ring must be fitted into the bend of the first power tunnel, supporting it at its weakest point. This machine is called Jumbo, but it's more like an octopus than an elephant. Its powerful drilling arms are inserting metal rods into the tunnel walls to prevent them from crumbling. Another arm carries a metal cage in which workers perch precariously. Beneath them is a drop of over 300 feet.
When you are in the middle of your work, you forget all the fear, all the danger of the job. You feel helpless because you can't save your brothers, but your life is also at risk. If you can help, you should. If you can't, then only God can help.
Federico's goodwill visit to the local villagers has just taken an awkward twist. Archaeologists have unearthed an ancient artifact, some 2,000 years old, buried in land about to be flooded. Time for some more on-the-spot diplomacy.
They want to put it in a museum with 400 others where nobody will see it. I hope to make a little museum here and call it Museum of La Playa.
Museo de la Playa.
We've been in these houses since we were born. It makes us sad to leave here, but what can you do? Hopefully we won't have any problems. I hope not, but we'll see.
Saturday morning at El Cajun, the big lift is finally on. Salvador Del Pozzo, the most experienced engineer at El Cajun, is in charge. He's joined by an anxious Fidencio. The risk is that some component will snap or break, throwing back work on the dam with devastating consequences for the whole project. Salvador's son is learning the ropes from his father.
Ok, Alejandro, paramos el descenso y trasladamos hacia la unidad 2, por favor.
What you see behind me is 200 tons of solid steel. It's a big piece, and we have to lower it down very carefully. You will see 200 tons moving by the millimeter.
For 2 years, 5,000 workers have been sweating to reach this moment. The concrete foundations laid down in the last 48 hours have dried only just in time to take the massive weight of the scroll case. Once the turbine scroll case is set in position on its concrete base, it's connected to the power tunnels where the water will flow. Finally, the turbine motors are built up on top. When the lake's filled, the water flows down the power tunnels, through the scroll case at the base of the turbines, onto the spinning blades which drive the electricity generators above.
Pero ahí va, ahí va.
We are lowering the speed ring, which is part of the scroll case, to his final position. The process is we will continue lowering a very low speed, and then 1 meter before the actual foundation, we are going to turn it clockwise to make the final alignment. And then once we are sure we are in the right alignment, then it will put it down in the foundation pad.
The scroll case move has reached its critical point, but even if Salvador is successful, he faces another challenge around the corner. In just 4 days' time, he has to reinforce the tunnel leading down to the turbine hall with a single massive metal ring weighing 40 tons. Salvador is putting in place the heart of this huge dam, the largest rock-filled dam ever built. The only trouble is, he's running out of time. 200 tons of turbine scroll case is now hovering above its base. It's the moment of truth. It looks simple, but El Cajun has just taken a big step on the road to becoming a living, working dam.
Every aspect of the work is important, but this is the heart of the dam. If we carry on at this rhythm, we'll be generating electricity in a year. Well, maybe not this year, but certainly by the end of next year.
Entonces es tremendamente importante.
Dawn at the purpose-built town for El Cajun's workforce. Yasmin Aranda, quality control engineer, works at the crest of the dam. She's on shift at 6 a.m. before the blistering heat builds up. Yasmin is responsible for materials going into the dam wall. Every day, the fate of the dam's at stake, and Yasmin's having trouble with her foreman. Meanwhile, at Salvador Del Pazo's metalworks, perched on a hill opposite the dam wall, they're about to move the first of the huge 40-ton rings that will line the power tunnel. There'll be 102 rings in total in each of El Cajun's 2 power tunnels. But the first is the most important. It's designed to fit the bend in the tunnel. It's the key ring, and it has to fit perfectly to support the rings above and below it, ensuring the tunnel stands up to the enormous force of the water.
We have never made this particular type of pipe before. These are the largest pipes of this kind ever made in Mexico.
But moving this massive ring of steel proves to be more difficult than Salvador and his team imagined. The lane of finished rings is too narrow for the low loader and its cargo to drive out of the factory.
The crane behind me is going to lift the piece that's in the way. We're dealing with a very limited space. The width of the ring is about 8.5 meters, and the space we have to move through is only 8.7 meters.
But their problems aren't over. The storm of 2 nights ago has caused a landslide on the road from the factory to the dam, and workers are desperately trying to clear the route. Yasmin Aranda is well into her day's work. After the storm, the humidity is high, and her team's foreman is concerned about its effects on the rockfill. Any weakness in a dam over 600 feet high could be disastrous, but Yasmin is under pressure to get the job done. She's running tests to establish the dampness and weakness of the material they're laying down. It's Yasmin's decision whether to go on working, and she thinks the test she's completed is quite enough. They should push on. Sometimes it's hard to be a woman in a man's world, but Yasmin can give as good as she gets.
Exactamente, me estás pidiendo mi decisión, yo te digo que nada más con esa cala y ya.
Si se está rajando, dígamelo. No es para rechazarte la cala, es para tener otro dato.
Pero ¿para qué? Si con una te podemos demostrar que va a dar.
Para mí queda.
Para mí también. No vamos a sacar nada. Él me pedía que realizara otra cala, ¿no? Como aval.
He asked me to make another test hole, but he had no reason to. It's not the first time we've had this problem. I showed him once, twice, 3 times. He was there. All we're doing is wasting time. We'll fall behind schedule.
They've finally managed to open the road for the low loader, which has begun its journey to the dam. Because of the extraordinary width of the power tunnel ring, the loader has to take the longest route. This crucial piece of the power tunnel arrives at the rock face of the dam. It's parked overnight, ready to make its final journey down into the power tunnel early tomorrow morning. For the workers at El Cajun, the dam is a source of pride and passion.
We are all soldiers. This is like a war. There are explosions every day, but thankfully, no deaths.
There are soldiers, captains, lieutenants, generals here. We all belong to an army, all of us.
Among the shock troops of El Cajun, Federico has no doubt which soldier has the hardest task.
Engineer Salvador del Pozo Mastachi. I hope to God nothing goes wrong for him. He helps us all. We all believe in him. We all consult him. Engineer Salvador del Pozo Mastachi has, without doubt, the most difficult job on this dam.
Salvador's now under the gun, trying to winch the steel ring into place in the elbow of the power tunnel. He's nervous, Moving the 40-ton ring is a real engineering challenge and a risky operation. After this job, he's handing over to his son, also Salvador, who for now is concentrating on the job in hand.
All operations have their own unique problems, but hopefully this shouldn't be dangerous.
The first stage of the operation is to lift the gigantic ring onto its side. From there, they'll try to hoist it and finally bolt it into place. Once set in the elbow of the power tunnel, it becomes the keystone for all the other rings, which can now be fitted from both above and below, halving the time it normally takes to install them. But to fix it in place needs a special gantry. It was forged at Salvador's factory and assembled there just once to make sure there'd be no hitches when it was brought on site. It turns out to be a time saver, and as Salvador is contracted to deliver on tight, punitive deadlines, any way of saving time is a bonus. Fidencio is there to make sure the job goes smoothly and to remind Salvador of his looming deadlines.
The installation of a steel liner is a milestone in the contract. So it has to happen today or tomorrow at the latest. Otherwise, Salvador is paying high penalties. For Salvador, he's in high pressure now. He's working around the clock. He has to finish the temporary structure tonight, and tomorrow, first thing in the morning, he has to leave the steel liner up to his final position, or he has to pay penalties. He's in trouble today. I don't like to put pressure on them, but I want to make sure that everything is in the right track.
This is Salvador's last job before retirement, but it's a family affair. His eldest son, Salvador Jr., is ready to take over the business.
Obviously, you feel the pressure of the moment, but we enjoy it too. The satisfaction of the achievement gets us through the stressful moments.
Let's see if he enjoys this. The stress levels are about to go up a few notches. The gantry they've built to hold the steel ring in place doesn't fit the sloping tunnel.
It doesn't quite go into the tunnel. We are shaving off some rock that's sticking out, but we are sorting it out. We'll soon be able to carry on.
They're now behind schedule. It's 1 in the morning, and they haven't yet started the big lift. Nerves are fraying. For a man of 70 on his last job, Salvador Sr.'s standing up to the heat pretty well, especially as the heat down here is 100 degrees plus.
La obra civil lleva un presupuesto de el 80%.
On a dam, civil engineering is 80% of the work. Electromechanical engineering is 20%. So from the economic point of view, it's less important. But we're the ones who hand over the keys to the car owner. That's the difference.
It's 3 a.m. The exhausted workers clamber down to clear the way. Another moment of truth. It's finally time to lift the huge ring into place.
¿Ya están listos? Cabrón, hasta guapo se puso usted, chinga.
Para asociarme bien.
Salvador's foreman will help guide the ring into its exact position. It's an operation that's never been tried before with a ring of this size. He has to climb up the gantry and perch 35 feet up. The lift is on. The ring has to be placed precisely on top of the gantry. Then it will be concreted in place. That's the theory. Reality is something else. First, the hoist cable falls into place. Then the crane slowly extends a further 5 yards and slowly, carefully moves the ring sideways. The hoist cable pulls taut, putting the ring at a slight angle. It's looking good until one of the bolts gets stuck. The foreman can't see one side of the ring. He needs help. It's a moment for leadership. Ignoring his father's advice, Salvador Jr. clambers up the gantry, watched by an anxious Salvador Sr. and his colleagues. It's a precarious climb without a safety harness, but Salvador Jr. is prepared to risk his safety for the sake of his father and the project. Salvador's aim is to guide the bolt into place and get the operation back on track, but it's far from easy.
La tapa del gorrón de aguas abajo está pegando sobre el patín.
Salvador, ¿cómo ves? ¿Qué está apoyando?
Está apoyando la tapa del gorrón está sobre el patín de este lado.
¿Y la de aguas arriba?
En el aire.
¿Están pegando los dos gorrones sobre la estructura?
No, el de adelante, el que tiene hacia allá, sí. Este de acá está separado como 15 centímetros.
¿Tanto sí?
Afirmativo.
Now Salvador Sr. tells the crane operator to try again. But they go too far the other way. If Salvador Jr. fails, his dad's company faces financial pain, his dad a humiliating end to his career. It's time for the younger generation to take charge. For Salvador Sr., it's a tense and emotional moment. It's his last operation and it's on a knife edge. His sons had to step up to the plate and the clock's ticking. With his son guiding the move, they swing the ring from side to side.
Ahí cómo quedó. Que saque tantita pluma.
Once more. At last, it's there. This ring will be concreted into place in the weeks to come. It marks a crucial step in El Cajon's construction. A relieved Salvador congratulates his foreman and two sons. For him, this is a moment to pass on the baton, a moment of sadness, but also of pride.
Muy interesante.
It's very interesting. It feels like a continuation. It's very pleasant. For us, this is routine work, but I'd have been disappointed if he hadn't gone up.
I climbed as fast as I could so we could finish and then rest for the weekend.
Fidencio congratulates Salvador on a job well done, and done on time.
Well, Salvador has been in this business for many, many years. So once he is in charge, we feel okay. We are midway, we are on time, we are in the right track, and the project is in this stage that we only need to take care of the project. The learning curve is over. Everybody knows what to do, where to go, and when to do it.
Some 4,000 workers assemble on the spillway to greet the governor.
This is an important event. It's good that the governor's joining us here. An event like this motivates the workers.
Fidencio and Federico accompany the governor to the podium. Federico takes center stage with a heartfelt tribute to the achievements at El Cajun, a project which will change lives.
Compañeros ingenieros, amigos,
Companions,
representantes del gobierno,
friends,
queridos
government
trabajadores,
representatives, dear workers,
no se
you can't
imagina
imagine the emotion that I feel.
la emoción que siento. Nunca antes en mi carrera profesional
Never before in my professional career have I witnessed such a marvelous spectacle as here.
que se está dando en el Cajón. De manejar nuestros ríos,
To control the rivers with the little water God gives us,
3 meses,
only 3 months a year,
y que gracias a nuestras
and thanks
maravillosas
to our wonderful
montañas,
mountains,
la
we can
podemos
convert it
convertir
into
en
lakes,
lagunas, la podemos
we can convert it
convertir en
into
luz,
power,
la podemos convertir
we can
en
convert it
trabajo
into work
para todos
for all of
nosotros.
us. Together, we can do
Juntos
whatever we
podemos
want.
hacer lo que sea. Gracias.